I think that's on
Something
the
on.
recording. I hope you know.
Josh eating a burrito and recording.
Bro, shh. I'm almost done. You could waited 2 minutes.
Josh, you're the only one, bro.
All right. I think you all have joined. Some other people are probably joining the waiting room, but yeah. So we'll get started. This is ACM meeting. Hopefully you're not lost. It's Zoom. Some things that we want to talk about with everyone. First off, we're starting to near the end of the semester, and the entire officer team is about to graduate. So if you're interested in becoming an officer, we need officers for next semester and next year. I don't know what Josh is yelling about, but something. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll have elections at the end of the semester here. Probably our last meeting or second to last meeting will be those elections. And the positions that we always have available are president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then what else am I missing, champ? Oh, public relations.
Ambassador.
And ambassador. And they all each have unique jobs. It really depends how the officer team is run that year, but each person does something that's for the club. There we go, we're getting more people. Okay, yeah, so we'll kind of go through what each job does. We're missing a couple officers, but we'll talk about them real quick. So I'm the president. So the president is kind of like the manager of the group. They make sure that everything gets done and everyone's on top of their stuff. And then hold the meetings and host all that stuff. Champ, do you want to talk about being a secretary?
So being a secretary, so you're tasked with emailing people. In my scenario, I've emailed both like people with State Farm or anything that has to do with internally with the club. You're also tasked with updating the mailing list and keeping track of documents. So normal secretary stuff, but yeah.
And then Dan, do you want to talk about what you do?
Sure. So pretty much my job entails communicating with people outside of the club to kind of get them to sort of, I guess, present and give job opportunities and stuff like that towards the club. And then another thing I do is managing some of the website stuff.
Yeah. Colton?
All right, treasurer is basically keeping the gatekeeper on funds, know when to spend it, keeping track of how much you have. Not embezzling funds, that's a very important key as well.
Yeah, it's almost happened to Colton a couple times.
Yeah.
What money is there to embezzle, though?
Also
that's the unfortunate aspect right now. There's really not much to embezzle, but yeah, no, it's basically being the gatekeeper of the funds and taking charge of spending and saving and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the two officer positions that aren't here are the ambassador. So really what they do is they recruit club members in the early beginning of the semester. They go to all the classes and they say, hey, here's ACM, especially in those 126, 136 early classes. It's important. This year it was a little bit different. They're involved a lot more. Maybe we can get it posted in Discord servers and discussion boards because it no longer exists in-person classes. And then the other job was the vice president, which is, kind of like my right-hand man. They, when I need something done, I talk to them to get it done, that kind of thing. But I know it sounds like a lot of work and it sounds very boring. It's really not. It's a great resume builder. It's like one of the first things on my resume. Yeah. The other thing that we have for housekeeping is we do have to talk about State Farm is coming again at the end of October, beginning of November. But this time they're not doing resume review anymore. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that cool stuff that they do in industry. So last time, Josh is getting his State Farm Trump hat out. I like it. So last semester they came and they talked about machine learning. That worked out really well. It's really super cool stuff that they're on the cutting edge of industry with. So a couple topics that we've picked out that might be interesting, but if you have other ones, throw them out. We want to hear about them. So machine learning, obviously that's always super interesting stuff that's going on there. Public cloud. And then they do a lot of VR stuff. So we said maybe they could come talk about some VR stuff. are there anything else? If you have anything else, yeah, well, public cloud is AWS. If you have anything, throw them in the chat there, or if you have a vote like, hey, I really want to hear more about machine learning, throw that in the chat there as well. And Josh is showing off his, like, he wins. Tell us about it, Josh.
Unbiased.
VR would be cool. Okay. Yeah, if you do have anything, let us know if you think of anything in the next couple weeks. But I'll probably be sending out an email tomorrow. Go Courser for machine learning. It's not going to be like super like, and this is, how to train a AR. Ooh, that's kind of a nice idea. I'm going to write that one down. Augmented reality stuff. Yeah, it's
more about the
Coursera.
applications
Yeah.
of those technologies in the insurance industry.
Which is odd. You think, what are they using VR in the insurance industry? But they're doing it. They're using it. Yeah. So our discussion, drones. Oh, do they do drone stuff, Josh?
Yeah, they're the
Yeah,
they
only
do.
insurance company allowed to fly drones over
Yep.
natural disasters and stuff.
Oh, shoot, that's like,
They do drones. They have cool stuff.
okay.
They do.
Good
They are
ideas.
also working on self-driving cars and stuff like that. Some cool things like that.
Yeah, they're doing wild stuff over there. Well, I can't wait to be Jake from State Farm. Yeah. Hopefully you're all starting. Jacob, did you apply to State Farm? Just out of curiosity.
Which Jacob?
Oh.
Yeah, he did. Okay, the other one. Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, so our discussion tonight is about from some members. I'll fight you for it. Some previous members who have had great internship experiences, through State Farm, through NSA, through all this kind of crazy shit that they do. And then also research stuff. So like undergraduate research, which is really an amazing opportunity, and I really encourage you all to get involved with. Yeah, so our 4 panel members, I'll go first and we'll all introduce ourselves. So my name's Tyler. I am currently doing undergraduate research under a PhD student through Interns to Scholars. And what we do is we look into language usage and how it affects chatbots. So are you more likely to respond for, certain different types of language use? I'll have Champ if you want to go next.
I am a former undergraduate researcher, and currently in an internship with State Farm this past summer, and right now also have a couple internships in like networking and system administration and stuff. So there's that too. I guess who else is? I guess Kainoa can go next, the king of everything.
All right, then. So I've had an internship with W. Al Gore, hence the shirt. I've done some work with the DoD, both internship and research. And I am going to be working with SRC, it's a cloud security company, starting in the spring. And I have research experience with NAU, the DoD, like I said, as well as an organization here in Hawaii. So yeah, kind of done a little bit of everything.
Josh, you're up.
All right. I'm Josh. I've done currently doing an internship with State Farm. Did it this past summer and the summer before that.
Yeah, awesome. So we do have some pre-prepared questions that we've thought would be good to answer. However, they're pretty few, and if you have extra questions that you want to know more about, please do ask them. Throw either a hand. I don't know how you do it. Just unmute and yell at us. I think that's the best way to do things. But yeah. Or if you have a question for a specific person, like I know Abigail said she's applying for the DoD internship. Maybe Kainoa's got a little inside information about that, or anything like that. Yeah. So Colton, if you want to start us off, and if anyone wants to ask questions, feel free to interrupt.
Yeah, I can do that. Well, the first question that would be natural to ask here is, this is just the general panel. How'd you get involved in the research stuff that you do, or did, or done, or will do?
So I'll go first on that one. So I applied for a research position with Dr. Steinmacher, Igor, and he interviewed me but said no, and then referred me to his wife, who was like, "Oh, you want to do research?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess so." And then I didn't reply to her email for 2 months, and then she said another one, and I went and interviewed, and they gave me the job. So it's pretty, if they're looking for people, they can't find them.
For me, so I did. If you guys were there last year, you guys would have heard me talk about this too. But I did AI stuff in terms of well, I did natural language processing stuff under Dr. Igor Steinmacher, and the way that I got involved in that was joining ACM. Really, that's really what it was. So basically, what happened is I had a conversation with the former president slash ambassador of the club, Stephen White. If you guys remember him, he was here giving a talk for State Farm last couple weeks ago. But he was doing research under Igor, and he told me, email him this, say my name, and you'll definitely get in. And I was like, okay. So I emailed Igor because I needed the credits, because I knew that if I like took like really hard classes all the time, I would kill myself, honestly. But yeah, so I ended up taking undergraduate research under Igor after just sending him an email, and then I did 6 credits of undergraduate research under him.
All right, I guess I'll go. So the research that's probably most relevant for you guys to hear about is my research with NAU. I got involved with that. It originally started as an independent study course. I approached about 13 different professors. I got 12 no's, but in one of those no's, which was Dr. Morgan Vigil Hayes, she actually asked me to be part of her lab. So that's how I got involved with that. And my other research opportunity was an independent study with Togo Yeltsin. And I just asked him and he said, sure.
Alrighty, do you want to go, Josh, or?
Well, I mean, I could talk about the very brief research I did, like right before I think Champ did his, which was same story as Champ. I knew Steven. Steven referred me to Igor, and then I just did that research that semester with Igor. Or actually, it was Marco, who I was under, but I like did everything with Igor, but I was technically under Marco.
What about your internship? How'd you get involved with that?
Oh, same deal. Stephen White. He referred me to State Farm, and back when we had like career fairs that you could actually go to, he walked up with me and I think it was just me at the time, maybe a few other. Oh yeah, it was like Kyle and Dylan, 2 other people that also work there now. We all walked up, handed our resumes. We all started chatting with the Kathy, who was the coordinator at the time. And that kind of got us a foot in the door before we even applied, or like after we applied, but as we saw him as well. So it just kind of got like extra bonus points for having a name to a face when they see your resume on later on.
Cool. Alrighty. Bouncing off of that, in your process of doing research, how did that differ from just regular learning in class? What processes were different? What did you enjoy versus maybe not enjoy about the differences between these processes?
Is this to
Yeah.
the whole panel?
Yeah, to anyone who wants to answer or who feels like it's most applicable to them.
You want to go first, Champ?
I guess I could go. I think research is probably the most valuable class that's not like the usual big 3 that people tell you to take, like parallel databases and all that stuff. I think undergraduate research is the most valuable to me because it allowed me to explore things that I was interested in. It allowed me to do things hands-on in compared to class, where you kind of you either just sit there and you kind of learn about how to do it. Maybe you'll do some practice problems of like, oh, here's how you do this or whatever. But it was never really like, okay, I'm not really applying this. I'm not really getting anything useful out of it. And research was the first thing that where I could develop something, utilize what I wanted to learn about at the time, which was artificial intelligence, natural language processing, along with human cognition, and really understand, like how can I connect the things that I learned in class and then things I'm going to learn in research to compose a paper or to conduct a study about something that I was interested in. So that's what was the key thing about research with me. And I did it for credit. And I did it for 6 credits. I did it for 2 semesters, 3 credits each. And it was honestly the best 6 credits that I've ever had. I learned so much. I learned so much about myself as a developer, how much things I can take on, because also during that semester I was doing 19 credits also. So when I was doing undergraduate research, that was when I was maxing out my credits because I needed to graduate in 4 years, and I changed my major a year later. So I was trying to do an entire CS degree program in 3 years while loading up completely in 19 credits, 19 credits. So like you'll hear probably the same thing from Kainoa, where he's just always been just overloading on all the work because he's doing stuff that he enjoys, but yeah.
Yeah. I'll tackle this question next. So how it differs for me from classroom learning is you work with a research mentor and it comes in waves for me. Like like last week I worked 20 hours for my research. This week I have worked 0. Like it's very much like 1 week we're on because we do a study and we got to sit in front of the computer all day and handle, people in the study and be working with actual people. And then the next week it's like, I don't need, I don't need you guys this week. I'm writing a paper. And it's like, okay, and I think that's because I work with a PhD student pretty actively. And then in a lot of ways, I like it better. I did research for credit over the summer, and it was such a nice credit for me because, it was something that I was invested in. It's something that I got to change. It wasn't like everything else where it's like, okay, I got to take 2 tests and finish a project and then I'd get an A. No, it was like, hey, build this chatbot and have fun with it and see what we can do. Like that's what it was about, which was really cool.
So I chose to do research and an internship for credit because it was a lot more interesting to me than class. Because any student can take a class and pass it, and that doesn't really show you much. But for those of you who have had internships in the past, they'll point out it doesn't matter what you say you can do on paper, what you've done in class. It's really what can you do, and having those internships and research experiences really show them like this is actually what I can do. It's not just that I was able to memorize something for a finite period of time. It's really the application, and it really helps you stick out. Plus, it's a lot of fun.
So if we're interested in undergraduate research, should we just reach out to like the professors and the faculty members who are doing that?
Honestly, just, yeah. On the 6 website, which is the School of Informatics and Computer Sciences website, they have all the professors that are doing research listed, and it talks about what research they're doing. Honestly, I would go down that list and be like, hey, that sounds interesting. I want to do something with, networks or whatever, and then you do something with Vigil Haze or whatever. Go talk to them. It's basically free labor for them. Like, they get you for free and you're like, I get credit out of this. This is great. And they're like, yeah, go do the busy work that I don't want to do, but you're still learning a whole lot. Yeah, I know I just linked it. That's the best way to get involved, in my opinion. There are also, if you're like, I don't need credit right now, but I need money, there's a lot of job opportunities where you can get paid. And same deal, you can go talk to them and they'll usually try and create a position if they can. Or, there's a lot of grants like the Interns to Scholars. I think there's 2 or 3 other ones. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But if you're looking around for opportunities to do research, it's, that's worthwhile because you get money and you get the experience that you need.
It's pretty dope stuff. So yeah, speaking of that, so yeah, you can get paid for research, undergraduate research and whatnot. How is that generally? How well do you get paid? And is there a discrepancy between getting paid and getting credit? Can you get both? And how rare might that be?
I think, am I the only one that's gotten paid? Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
probably.
I'm the only one that's gotten money from it. And honestly, it's not like amazing money, but I don't work that much. I think my contract technically stipulates that I work 6 hours a week, but like I said, last week I worked 20. So like if I needed, it's really nice, funny money. Like that's what I say. Like if I want to go downtown and, grab a bite to eat or something like that. But it's not like I wouldn't do it to pay your rent, but if you want to do that on top of something else, it's a great way to get experience. I've also done it for credit, and I did it over the summer, and I thought that was great for me too, because I could work on my schedule, on my terms, and that kind of thing. It really depends. Some professors and grants pay more than others. I'm kind of on a not as good one that pays a lot less and gives me a lot less hours, and I only get like $1,000 maximum. But if you're on, a much better one, there's like opportunities to make, I think, like up to $15 an hour. I think Drew even makes like 15 or 16, and he does research as an undergrad.
So last question, I guess, on research before we move on to more internship focused stuff. For when you go about doing your research, is there anything that you learned in a specific class or classes that helped you the most in getting your research done and getting your workflow going? This is to the panel, I should mention. So anyone who feels they want to answer can answer.
I can do that. For those of you who have taken 249 and know Leverington's rule, start early, not later, that totally applies for research. If you procrastinate research, you will be up for 3 days straight working on something because you have a product or you have a deliverable due very soon. So always start early, and it really helps you learn to manage your time better.
Yep, I could completely agree with that too. Especially if you're getting paid and they have a budget to work with, you're wasting money if you're not doing stuff. And they won't like that.
Tyler, do you have has anything explicitly helped you?
I would say the most useful class in my research was CS 126, because that's where I learned Python, and that's what we use for my research.
Nice.
And the other thing that I want to specify is you can do research at any time. Like you could be finish 126 and go, I want to go do research. You might not be doing as cool stuff as some other people, but you'll still be doing research. And honestly, you'll still learn a lot. Like it's still a great way to get credit or get involved or anything like that.
So yeah, to segue off of that, there's no such technical thing as too early, is there? As long as you have 126 or something under your belt, you can just get right into applying for any of these internships or these research opportunities.
Yeah.
So I want to add something to that. From my experience, yes, you can apply whenever. I did the bulk of my research prior to 249, but faculty are a little bit discouraged to take on students if they have not done 249 yet, just because that's kind of the weed out class and the class to figure out if people are truly dedicated. But it is 100% possible to get both internships and research prior to 249 and even right after 126.
And, if you start talking to the professor now and asking questions about what they're doing and being interested, once you have 249 under your belt, they'll be like, I want you now. It's a great way, even early, to just start asking questions and start navigating that system.
Yeah, it's like getting your foot in the door per se, where they're like, "Ooh, look at this person interested," and if you keep knocking, eventually they'll open the door. All right, so let's move on to internship questions. So one good question, I'll ask you this, Josh. So if there's like a freshman or sophomore that's interested in just going into research or internship opportunities, how would you recommend they go about doing that if they're trying to get in early on this stuff? Like any specific fairs, any specific people to talk to, any specific bribes to like pay?
Yeah, big tips, go to career fairs, talk to the people there, even if you're not looking at applying, just like get used to talking to people within that industry that go out to look for like recruiters basically that try to recruit people for their company. It's just good to get that practice so that way when you actually go to talk to the people you want to talk to, you don't like fumble over your words and you're not like super nervous. And another thing is try to get to know somebody that has done it or is like has a job offer from them or has done an internship there. Because then if they can put in a good word for you, that's like really, really good. Even if you kind of do bad on the interview, if like me, Champ, or anybody else that has like gotten one of these internships and puts in a word for you and says, hey, like this guy, like watch this guy, like he's good, I recommend him. And if we've done good on our internships, they're going to be like, oh, they're recommending him, or we might take a second look, sort of thing, just to get eyes on you before you even walk in the door.
Dope. And to follow up,
So real quick,
did
I'm
someone
going to
have a
cut you
question?
off. Yeah.
Okay.
So Shelby put in the chat, what questions do you guys recommend asking hiring managers during interviews?
What's the work-life balance? What's the work culture? So
Yep.
you know what you're getting into. Because some people might be like, oh yeah, this job pays like 120K off the back, but then you figure out it's because they work 60+ hour weeks and never have free time.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good question. Remember that it's not just an interview for you. It's also an interview for them from your perspective to see if that company fits your needs.
Yeah, also
Yeah.
like asking them like daily routine stuff too. So like when they go to work, what's their typical day like? So you know what you're in for once you get the job there.
How often does someone buy a round of pizza for the office?
Like things like that. Like if you talked about how the work-life culture or the work-life balance is or the work culture at State Farm, they'll probably tell you that we always play ping pong. Like, so.
Yeah, so that's definitely a good point to raise. That money's pretty neat and all, but if you're miserable while you're getting paid big bucks, there's not a lot that you can do fun with that money. So yeah, that's a very good point indeed.
Yeah.
But yeah, to elaborate on the internship experience for those of you who have done internships, what aspects did you like most about your internships, or actually, what was that? What happened during your internship that was just like a fun little like interaction that you had that was just like anything zany, like something that you wouldn't have expected in a professional environment, but that was like pretty neat?
I guess I'll go first. For me, at least, it was really, really relaxed. Like going back to the first time I was there, and we were actually in office, I could pretty much wear like almost like anything to work that was just appropriate. So just like jeans, joggers, and like a t-shirt, like kind of techie t-shirt, or just like not like a super plain t-shirt, but just like maybe a tech shirt, State Farm shirt, just short sleeve shirt, jeans, joggers, normal shoes. Like there was really no super strict dress code, just look presentable. But yeah, that was really nice. And then just everyone there too was just super chillax. Like there was no like it wasn't super formal or anything. It was just like, oh hey, how's it going? Even with the managers and like the people, like the executives too, if you were to just see them, you could just say hi and they wouldn't really mind if you just passed them in the hallway and like sparked a small conversation or something. Everyone was super approachable. Don't ask anybody about their work because they'll try to explain everything to you, because that's like all they want to do is talk about their job while they're at work because nobody asked them about it. So everyone's just super approachable. That was really different, not expecting that. And at least for State Farm, ping pong, like all the time, like ping pong breaks, like, hey, 30 minutes ping pong. Yeah, everybody. Yeah, ping pong 2v2. All right. And that would happen like literally every day.
That's fantastic. So when you interviewed to go into either for research or for internships, was there a technical part of your interview? And if so, like, was it a ferocious technical interview, or was it more based on general understandings of how CS works and like what's a string? Do you know what a character is? Something like that.
I'll go first on that. So for my internship at Gore, there was no technical interview. I had an informal conversation with one of the recruiters at the career fair about what I was interested in with computer science and what I wanted to do later on. And that was about it. From there, he said, oh, you should apply. And then I had a kind of a more HR style interview, and that was it. But for my internship with the DoD, there was a decently rigorous technical side. A lot of it was networking based. So if you have experience with Wireshark or you know the basics about TCP, UDP, and the TCP IP stack, that was for that internship because it was really network centered. Can't really say anything else. But yeah.
So I have a little bit of experience with this. So for my research, there was no technical interview. They just said, do you know these languages? And I said, yep. And then they said, okay, good luck. And that's worked out so far. However, I just interviewed for State Farm for this coming summer, and the technical interview for me was pretty easy. It was not that rigorous. So I think in general, they're not overly rigorous for, those internships or research positions, unless they're, super niche, like you're doing like DoD network stuff that's like, there's like 3 people on the planet that understand how it works kind of thing. Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, well, here's another good one. So working in those environments, something that you get both in classes and in the professional environment. Did you ever feel like you were an imposter? That you were there and you were like, wow, I shouldn't be here. I don't belong
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
At my DoD internship, I felt like I was the dumbest person in the room, even though I knew I was qualified, and they kept reminding us, like only like 0.1% got in or something. I still felt like, wow, I know nothing in comparison to the other interns and to the people I'm working with. Also with Gore, they had me working as a cloud intern, and I was like, on day one, I asked, what's AWS? So I knew absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I'm in the same exact boat as Kainoa for that AWS stuff. They had me working on cloud, and like the first day after I realized that, there was a guy there that like did cloud for like 2 years and didn't get the cloud position, and I got it, which is apparently the most like sought after one there because it's the only thing at State Farm that's like really really new that they're implementing. But yeah, I had no idea what AWS was. I didn't know any of the services they offered, and I was building out like the infrastructure for it. So I was like making accounts and doing all this stuff on the back end for it. And I had no idea about any of that. And I was just asking questions constantly for like basically the whole time I was there. And still now I ask questions because they implement new stuff all the time. And you're never going to know like 100% of it, even when you work there. Like I have coworkers that I know that are like they specialize in a few things in the cloud that we do, but like when it comes to like network stuff or security stuff, it's a whole nother section of our team that knows about that and deals with that. Like they would go to them to ask.
Alrighty. For State Farm, what is the process? Oh yeah, so there's a question from Shelby. Hey, from Shelby here. For State Farm, what is the process like for getting your specific position once you're hired? How do you decide if you're going to work in the cloud or security or whatever?
I I kind of don't know actually. It probably happens in the interview, like when you do your in-person interview. They probably analyze your skills and see where you fit best. But it also deals like you also might have that factor of like the team that you could be that's looking for interns. You could have friends that are in it, and and they might ask you, "Oh, do you know Shelby from NAU?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know Shelby. She's just a slacker." No, no. But like, if they vouch for you and they say good things about you, your hiring manager will try to push for you, and that like, I know, like Steven tried to do that for like his team, but he got Daniel instead, huh? He got the shorter end of the stick, but that's okay. But no. But no, yeah. I think that was the same thing for you too, right, Josh? Connor was asking for you probably.
I don't think so. No, that couldn't have been it, because when I got hired on for that, he just got the job. I started working before him.
Mhm.
I think they looked at in the interview, maybe I mentioned how I was like super good at Python because that's like the main language I've been coding in ever since I learned it.
Mhm.
And I just happened to do undergraduate research in Python too. And they might have looked at that and said, oh, he'd be really good at like doing the scripting side of AWS. But I don't really know how they choose. I think they just kind of throw it out to the hiring managers and they just kind of see who they want based off the notes they have when they interview. But I never actually got to know exactly how they do it. But you don't necessarily choose. Like once you get it, you can mention that you might want to do other things, at least for State Farm's sake. You can mention that you might want to do other things and they'll try to push you in that sort of direction. But as for like choosing teams, like I didn't really have a say. The second time around, they asked me if I'd like to change teams for my returning internship this summer. They asked me if I wanted to change teams, and I just happened to say no. So I think maybe the second time around, you could kind of push in a direction towards a team you might want. But the initial choice, I have no idea how they decide.
And we got another question from Jaron. What school year did you guys start looking for internships and research positions?
Freshman year. I started from the beginning.
I think I was a junior, but it would have been my second year as a CS major. So like sophomore year CS, but junior. And I honestly wasn't even looking. My buddy Steven just told me to apply because I was kind of thinking about it, but I didn't I was like, I have no idea what this major is. Like, I don't know what I'm doing yet. So, but I would definitely say freshman year is like awesome because like, again, for State Farm, they have like high school interns. So they're expecting you to like learn more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Earlier the better. It doesn't hurt to look, The worst that they can say is come back later. And that's probably what they will say if they're like, you really got to have 249 to do this, or if you really got to have this class to do this, then they'll say, go take this class and come back after you taken that class. And you'll come back and they'll say, okay, now I want you. And even then, like, I don't know, Champer Josh was saying at State Farm and a lot of internships, they hire high school kids. Like they're hiring, people that have less experience than you, that don't have any programming experience. And at least you have 126 or you're, enrolled at NAU as a CS major. Like at least you have something that they might not have.
Yep.
All right. Any more questions from anybody? So something that I do want to say too is, we talked a lot about like, once you get to know somebody, like know somebody and then they can give you a letter of rec or whatever, they can, refer you. Well, all of you here know somebody, you all know us. And, I think everyone in ACM is more than happy to, if you drop them a Discord DM or you put it in the chat, like, hey, does anyone work at DOD? Can you help me with like, the application or give me a contact info for somebody? We're more than happy to do that. We know the caliber of a lot of the ACM students over a lot of other students. And we definitely, rather have you guys on our team than some floozy. Internship can also help you get the capstone project you want. That is true. Yep.
Yep. If you have experience in that area and that capstone project requires that experience, most likely to get the capstone project you want.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
know how many times I was looking for AWS on any of those capstones.
Yeah.
And then
Are
a
you
question
sure
from
that's the case? Because I had experience with Morgan Vigil Hayes. I did not get her project. I got a mobile app project. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay, you know what? Maybe that, but you also got to keep in mind they factor your GPA too. So if you have a lower GPA, you have a higher chance of getting the project that you don't want.
Yeah, you could have been the higher GPA on that project, so that's why they might have stuck you on that.
One more question in the chat from Philip. If you have worked on other jobs in the past, do you include, oh, we're back to resume review. Do you include these on your resume or do you only include CS related work? I worked in a past as a general manager in retail while saving money to pay for tuition. Should I include this experience? So if you don't have other stuff to fill up your resume, then absolutely should include it. Like if you're, your resume is like, it's either this or nothing. Put that on there definitely. But then I think a lot of the skills that you use, general manager skills, those are, management, leadership, all those things are still really important skills to list on your resume, even if you don't list that position. It sounds like that one definitely list that one, but like, I think, who was it? Carter was last week talking about like, I was a sandwich artist at Subway. Like, should I put that on my resume? If you have nothing else, absolutely you should. And you learn skills from that position, even if it's just, making sandwiches or, driven or whatever you took away from that position.
Yeah.
Yep.
For my job, the first time, well, I guess the only time I really got interviewed for State Farm, I had Jack in the Box, Big Five, and TA as my jobs. And they were like, all right. And those are the things I just had on my resume because that's the only work I've done. I did like Jack in the Box for a year, Big Five for a summer, and then TA after I graduated, or not graduated, but after I finished 126, I started TAing. So like, just anything that can put like some type of experience. If you have like actually nothing for CS, it won't be a huge deal, depending on the company, of course. But
Yep. As long as you can show that you've developed soft skills.
yep.
Yeah. So if that's all the questions that we have, I think, it's really nice to hear from Capstone. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you to our whole, internship and research panel for coming out and spending some time with us and answering some questions. Definitely start applying, start talking to people. Earlier is better for those types of things. And then if you want to be an ACM officer, please do that so that the club isn't dead. Yeah, cool.
I'll
Thank
let
you
the
all for
Roanoke kill
coming.
the club.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.